Okay, so this is my first attempt at doing a training video and the sound didn't come out. I'm not using a GoPro, I'm using a Chinese 4K action cam and it's in the case, so the sound didn't come out. So I'm going to show you here what we did to warm up the engines. This is to warm up a steam plant for departure. What I'm doing is I'm heading down here to the turning gear, and what you do is you stop the gear, go reverse just for a quick second, and then stop it again, and that gets the gear mesh out. Then you come down and you'll see my hand, there's a little button and then the handle, and you push the button in and pull the handle up. If you don't do that right, you got to go and usually bump it in reverse again and then come back. So now that the turning gear is out, it's safe to put steam to the engine. But first what we'll do is, because we're down here, I'm walking over to the throttle drains now. And all steam drains will have a primary and a secondary drain valve. And what you do is you open the primary valve wide, and the secondary valve, it's a feel thing, but it's usually somewhere between a quarter and a half a turn. And you want that just cracked open to drain any moisture out of the line. And the reason you do that is steam will cut a valve. So you always keep that first valve wide open so it doesn't get cut. That way you can work on the secondary valve with live steam. Now we're headed up to the main steam valve from the boilers to the main engine turbine. And when I get up here, there's I call it a wraparound line. It's a warm-up line, but it's a little 3/4 inch line that actually goes around the main valve. And you can see this valve, it's a little motorized. There's the big motorized valve, and then there's a reach rod, and it goes down to the little 3/4 inch valve, and it's a little tight, so I had to mess around with it here. And then you'll open that up wide because you don't want it to get cut, like I said with the other one. And now the steam is going to be flowing, your fire rate's going to come up on your boiler a little bit. And if you have those drains open too far on the main turbines, you'll steam out the whole engine room. So that's why you just go to a quarter and a half, and you'll get a feel for it. And my rule of thumb is you go about 15 minutes. And you could, on this ship, we could watch the temperature, but you have a cup of coffee and your line should be warm up when you're done. And then you'll come up and open up the main valve. All right, let's see where we're at. Okay, we finally got that valve loose, and you can see it's kind of hard with one hand to do. Normally you're not holding a camera and you got two hands and you just open that guy wide up. And what you could see here, I'm going to point to, is you could start to see the steam to the throttle pressure coming up. The camera doesn't really catch the LEDs reading, but that's coming up, and we'll come back to more later. Okay, so now about 15 minutes have elapsed and the line's warm. And we're going to go up and open up the main steam line. And what we'll do is, once we get the main steam line open, then we'll close the wraparound. And what's really nice about this ship, I haven't had it any place else, is you have a motor-operated main steam valve. And you switch it over to local, open it up, and then when you're done, you switch it back to remote. That way it can just close if it needs to. And you just watch it come. And there's a rising stem down there. You could see it coming up. And it does take a minute, and just stay with it. You never know what could happen. And now we've got the temperature warmed up for the pressure. That's where we're at for this plant. And what we're going to do now is we're going to roll the engine astern. So you're going to see my finger come down. We're going to make sure the astern guardian valve is open. We'll reset our trips from last time we ran the engine. And then we're going to come down to the wheel. If you don't have a wheel like this, you just open your stern valve until you just get it to move. And you do that 3 times, wait for the pressure to build back up, and that'll clear any moisture out of the line, and then you can roll it ahead, and then you just keep rolling it ahead and rolling it astern until you get standby engines. The only other thing to add to this is when you're rolling an engine, this is when you're tied to the dock, so you want to keep those RPMs down. I like to keep them around 5 ahead and 5 astern, but definitely 10 ahead and 10 astern is actually quite a bit. Most ships, about every 5 RPM is 1 knot. So if you're doing 10, now you're pushing 2 knots on the line, and you risk snapping a line, and it's definitely happened before. Guys have done it. All right.